You walk into a room, your eyes scan the room, but no one seems to notice. You speak clearly, even with good intentions, but it's as if your words evaporate into thin air. People hear you, but they don't listen. And worse, they remember everything but you. Is there anything more painful than being invisible, even when you're present? This is the weight many carry without realizing it. Not for lack of effort, not for lack of content, but for lack of impact. And what separates those who are heard from those who are ignored? A word that seems magical, but is pure science. Charisma. Being charismatic isn't about being likable. It's not about being popular, funny, or handsome. It's not about having a loud voice or moving like a rehearsed extrovert. It's about sending the right signals, often invisible, that silently tell the world, I matter. Listen to me. Respect me. Trust me. And the cruelest of all, you can be brilliant, ethical, generous, even exceptional. But if you don't know how to convey this through charisma, you'll live below your true potential. This isn't an opinion. It's neurology. It's psychology. It's human behavior in its rawest form. Vanessa Van Edwards, researcher and author of Cues, has uncovered what most people don't even suspect. The world doesn't respond to who you are, but to what you convey. And this transmission doesn't come from your resume, it comes from your signals. The way you walk into a room, how you move your eyes, how your voice resonates when you say something simple like, good morning. The world, in other words, is a field of perception. And charisma is the code that decodes this reality in your favor. Imagine the impact of this. People don't respond to the truth, but to the impression of the truth. And this means that, yes, you can be the best person at work, but if you appear insecure, hesitant, or distant, you'll be seen as weak. You may be the most trustworthy among your friends. But if your gaze is distracted, your voice is low, and your body is closed off, you'll be considered irrelevant. This is the brutality of social life. We judge and are judged in fractions of a second based on signals that weren't taught in school by our parents and much less in self-help books. But what if these signals could be learned? What if charisma weren't a gift reserved for natural leaders, but a trainable, adjustable skill honed like any other skill? What if the difference between being heard and being ignored, between being remembered and being forgotten, wasn't in the content of your speech, but in the way you exist while speaking? This is the key. Charisma is the science of aligning two forces, warmth and competence. Warmth to generate connection, competence to generate respect. One without the other is disastrous. With too much warmth, you become the nice guy no one takes seriously. With too much competence, you become the cold robot no one wants around. But together, these two pillars build the presence that makes people lower their defenses and lean in closer. This is charisma. The magnetic combination of the trusted friend and the admirable leader, the quiet mentor, the older brother, the figure you admire and at the same time feel you can embrace. And the most fascinating thing about all this, the clues are everywhere. Think of Keanu Reeves, a man who rarely imposes himself, who doesn't shout, who doesn't try to dominate anyone. And yet, he is revered as one of the most charismatic human beings on the planet. The secret? He masters balance. His warmth comes from humility, kindness, and the respect he shows even to strangers. His competence comes from dedication to his craft, from dedication to what he does. Keanu doesn't need to say he's trustworthy. He conveys it. He does it in the form of signs. And this is where reality clashes with the illusion we've been sold. Most believe that being charismatic means being extroverted, but the truth is more refined and more dangerous. Many extroverts are forgettable, and many shy people, when they master the right cues, become social magnets. Because what matters isn't the volume of your voice, it's the vibration of your presence. It's the kind of energy you emit when you enter a room. It's what your body says before you say anything. Philosophers have always known this. Nietzsche said, "What is done for love is beyond good and evil." And that's what charisma is. A force that transcends logic, that cuts through arguments and directly reaches the unconscious. Jose Ortega put it more bluntly, the combination of fascination and surrender is essential to love. But this same fascination that activates love also activates influence. Charisma at its core is a refined form of power, and like all power, it can be ignored, feared, used, or dominated. This journey you're about to embark on is a journey of translation. We'll translate the hidden language of perception into visible actions. We'll shatter the myths of charisma and reveal its true mechanisms. We'll disarm the ghosts that prevent you from shining and replace each one with a real, applicable, replicable tool. Each part of this video is a stepping stone, and if you stick with me to the end, I promise you, you'll never be perceived the same way again. You can say the right thing with the right intention to the right person and still have no effect. It's not that they disagree with you, it's worse. It's as if you're not there. As if the space you occupy were a transparent vacuum, present yet irrelevant. And this is the error that condemns millions of people every day. Believing that the world responds to logic, when in fact, it responds to perception. Your value isn't what you deliver, it's what you transmit. The invisible error is precisely this. Living in the belief that competence is enough, that effort is enough, that being a good person is enough to be noticed. But in the social arena, this belief is a sentence of invisibility. And here's the cruelest part. The world is full of good people who go unnoticed. And it's even more full of empty people who dominate the stage. Why? Because they understand something the naive ignore. Being noticed comes before being valued. The game doesn't start when you speak, it starts when you enter. And what determines your value even before a word is spoken are cues. Non-verbal and verbal signals that act as a secret language of influence. Vanessa Van Edwards calls this the invisible language that controls our reputation. It's not about manipulation, it's about making visible what already exists within you. But if you don't know how to send the right signals of presence, confidence, and empathy, you'll be perceived as background noise, even if you're an orchestra inside. The critical point is understanding what these signals really are. And here begins the first deep dive. Cues are silent messages. They come from the way you occupy your space, how your eyes move when someone speaks to you, how your head tilts, how your arms move when you're standing still. If you cross your arms when introducing yourself, your brain may be saying, "I'm anxious," but your body is saying, "I'm closed off." And guess which one the other person will believe? The body, always the body. The human brain is trained from birth to detect incongruence. And when there's a mismatch between what you say and what you express, trust dissolves in seconds. This happens in any interaction from flirting to business negotiations. And the content doesn't matter, because the stark truth is that form precedes essence in human perception. If your form communicates insecurity, hesitation, or disinterest, your essence won't even have a chance to present itself. And this is where the contradiction emerges forcefully. Many of the most serious, most technical, and best prepared professionals are the ones least able to generate social impact. Why? Because they were trained to value only competence. And they forgot the other half of the game. Warmth. Yes, warmth. That's the word that changes everything. Charisma is the marriage of two twin forces, competence and warmth. The first makes you respected, the second makes you trustworthy. Alone, they are harmless. Together, they are irresistible. Imagine someone you admire for being excellent, but who makes you feel uncomfortable, distant, intimidated. This person exudes competence, but lacks warmth. Now, think of the opposite. Someone lovable, kind, even captivating, but whom you wouldn't trust to lead an important project. This person exudes warmth, but lacks competence. Both have a kind of incomplete charisma. True social magnetism, what makes people follow you, trust you, and value you, arises from the balance between these two forces. This duality is older than it seems. The ancient Greeks already understood that the ideal leader was not only strong, but also inspiring. Aristotle spoke of ethos and pathos, moral authority and emotional connection as the foundations of persuasion. Nietzsche centuries later goes further, stating that happiness is the feeling that power grows, and there is no social power more silent and effective than charisma. It grows not because you shout, but because others fall silent to listen, because they sense something around them that they can't name, but they know they want more. And if this sounds esoteric, stop and look at the most memorable leaders in history. Martin Luther King, Nelson Mandela, Malala. They all combined authority with humanity, firmness with empathy, technique with tenderness. They didn't shout to be heard. They existed with such intensity that the world bowed around their words. This is the invisible force you need to awaken. But it doesn't appear out of nowhere, it is trained. And the training begins with a brutal question. What signals are you emitting right now at this very moment without knowing it? Because, yes, you are emitting signals even when silent. Even alone, the way you enter a room, tense or relaxed, closed or open, already shapes the impression people will have of you. And this impression crystallizes with a speed that logic can't match. Studies show that it takes the brain only 7 seconds to form a definitive impression of someone. 7 seconds. That's the time it takes to take a deep breath. So now, imagine how many times in your life have you been unfairly judged? Not because someone was wrong about who you are, but because you failed to portray yourself correctly. How many opportunities have you missed? Not because of a lack of competence, but because of excessive coldness. How many connections failed because your body seemed to say, "Don't come near me," while your mind screamed, "Listen to me." This is the chasm between intention and perception. And learning to control this bridge is the first step to becoming magnetic. But crossing this bridge requires more than technique. It requires courage, because adjusting your signals requires vulnerability. It requires recognizing that, up until now, you may have lived in a socially defensive mode, afraid of appearing fragile, exposed, uncomfortable. And this armor which you built to protect yourself may be exactly what's blocking your presence. And this is where the ultimate paradox of charisma arises. Being magnetic requires allowing yourself to be seen. But being seen requires relinquishing complete control, because when you try to control every gesture, every word, every impression, you become artificial. And no one trusts the artificial. People trust the authentic, even if imperfect. That's why the first step isn't faking warmth or force incompetence. It's asking yourself honestly, which of these elements is missing from me? Am I seen as cold, as ineffective, as lovable but disposable, or as skilled but impenetrable? Identifying your gap is the beginning of rebuilding. Vanessa Van Edwards proposes a simple but powerful exercise, the friend and expert test. After every social interaction, ask yourself, did I make this person feel comfortable like a friend would? And did I make it clear that I know what I'm doing like an expert would? If the answer is no to either, you haven't found your sweet spot yet. And the most transformative thing, this sweet spot isn't fixed. It changes depending on the environment. In a professional presentation, you might need to elevate your confidence. At a dinner with friends, you might need to soften it with more warmth. The charisma game is dynamic. It's a constant fine-tuning between showing value and generating connection. But it all starts with this paradigm shift. You won't be noticed for who you are, but for who you appear to be. And for your appearance to be true to your essence, you need to master your cues, not to manipulate, but to reveal with precision and impact the best version of yourself. Because only then will the world see you as you deserve to be seen. If you thought words were your primary tool of influence, perhaps it's time to face the uncomfortable reality. The body speaks first. It whispers, insinuates, vibrates, and the world listens. Even when you're silent, you're saying something. In fact, especially when you're silent, because it's in that space between what you think and what you convey that true charisma happens or disappears. And this isn't a metaphor. It's social biology. It's neurology applied to human interaction. The research is compelling. Up to 93% of our communication is nonverbal. Before you finish a sentence, your body has already concluded its judgment. Before you introduce yourself, your posture has already revealed your self-esteem. Before you say, "Nice to meet you," your face has already revealed whether you were truly happy or just pretending. The brutality is that others don't do this out of malice. They do it instinctively. They judge you not by what you say, but by how you behave while saying it. And most of the time, they do it in milliseconds. This is where the secret language of the body reveals itself as a hidden yet universal code. Micro-expressions, posture, movements, speech rhythm, gestures, all of this makes up a silent dictionary that other people's brains read constantly, even without realizing it. And the most ironic thing is that almost no one knows they're writing their own social sentence in this invisible language. Let's start with the face. It's the stage for emotions. And contrary to what you might imagine, it doesn't lie well. The muscles of the face are directly connected to basic emotions: fear, joy, contempt, surprise, anger, sadness. And when something real is felt, the face gives it away, even when we try to hide it. These are called micro-expressions, quick, involuntary facial reactions that last less than a second, but reveal the emotional truth that words try to mask. For example, the fake smile. You've seen one. Everyone has. That smile that doesn't reach the eyes, that lifts the corners of the mouth, but leaves the gaze blank. This is the smile that screams, "I'm being polite, but I don't have feelings for you." In contrast, a true smile, known as a Duchenne smile, activates not only the muscles of the mouth, but also the corners of the eyes. It's the kind of smile that makes people feel seen, welcomed, and considered. It doesn't have to last long, but it needs to be genuine because the other person's brain knows when it's genuine and it reacts in fractions of a second. But it's not just the smile. The eyebrows speak for themselves too. When you meet someone and your eyebrows briefly rise, this silent gesture conveys interest, openness, and welcome. It's a subtle invitation. "I'm glad to see you." Now, if your eyebrows are still or furrowed, the signal is tension, judgment, or distance. Small gestures, big impact. The body as a whole is even more eloquent. Arms crossed, shoulders tense, hands hidden, feet pointing toward the door. All these signal discomfort, defensiveness, rejection. On the other hand, open arms, visible hands, a slightly forward body, and relaxed shoulders signal presence, availability, and trust. The secret lies in congruence. When your body and words are aligned, the other person senses the truth. When they aren't, they feel alarmed. Vanessa Van Edwards explains this clearly. People will always trust your body more than your words. This is because the body for the reptilian brain is more trustworthy. It comes from an era before language and the brain, despite being modern, still reacts with ancestral instinct. This means that even without knowing why, people will sense something is off with you if your body language doesn't match your speech. And when this noise occurs, the connection is broken before it even begins. Now imagine this happening in a job interview. You say, "I'm very excited about this opportunity," with a tense face, averted eyes, fidgety hands, and hunched shoulders. Nothing in your body confirms what you're saying. The result? Instant discredit. You may be qualified, you may be sincere, but you won't be trusted. And if you're not trusted, you won't be chosen. The same goes for dates, presentations, and social gatherings. Body image is the filter that defines who gets in and who stays out. Therefore, one of the most powerful tools in the charisma arsenal is mastering what we call the power posture. It's simple but effective. Shoulders back, chest slightly open, chin level, spine erect, arms visible, preferably with palms facing up or forward, feet firmly planted slightly apart, pointing toward the person you're speaking to. This set of signals conveys strength, control, and presence. And most importantly, it doesn't just convince others, it convinces you. Research shows that expansive postures increase testosterone levels and reduce cortisol, the stress hormone. This means that acting confident makes you feel more confident. The body feeds back into the mind, and this feedback transforms not only how you are perceived, but how you feel and consequently how you act. Charisma in this case begins with a bodily decision that changes your emotional biology. But be careful. The goal is not to become an actor, it's to become conscious. The difference is subtle but vital. The actor pretends. The conscious adjusts. The actor acts. The conscious aligns. Being charismatic isn't about forcing smiles, gestures, and poses. It's about understanding what your body is saying and adjusting the narrative so that it is authentic, precise, and powerful. It's about tuning the instrument, not masking the sound. And the same applies to the voice. How you speak matters as much as what you say. A firm voice with a measured rhythm, unhurried, and with well-placed pauses conveys authority and confidence. A fast-paced voice with nervous breaks and irregular volume signals anxiety, doubt, and imbalance. And once again, the other person's brain reacts to form before processing content. In this sense, the voice is an emotional thermometer. And the secret isn't sounding perfect, it's sounding present. It's curious how all of this was intuited by ancient masters of behavior, even before science proved it. Confucius already said that posture reveals ethics before speech reveals intention. Nietzsche, when speaking about power, mentions that it manifests itself by overcoming internal resistance, which translates today as the ability to maintain a solid posture even under emotional pressure. This is charisma, maintaining presence when everything around you pulls you toward distraction. And here comes the most transformative point. You don't need to master all the signals at once. Just start with 2, and you'll see changes. First, a real smile. Start by practicing a real smile, the one that touches your eyes. Use it in initial interactions, not as a mask, but as a gesture of presence. Second, open posture. When speaking, listen to your body. Is it closed? Correct? Is it hidden? Expand? Is it scattered? Center. Over time, these small adjustments become automatic, and the impact builds. People begin to listen to you more attentively, respond with more enthusiasm, remember you even days later, all because finally, your body has begun to speak the same language your mind has always tried to express. And when this happens, charisma ceases to be a concept. It becomes a presence, an energy that accompanies you, that precedes your speech, that magnetizes people, opens doors and builds authority. Not through force, but through connection. Not through volume, but through coherence. The body doesn't lie, but when he and the mind are in tune, the truth becomes irresistible. The true power of charisma isn't in repeating a magnetic demeanor in any situation. It's in the refined ability to adapt your presence to the context. Like a conscious chameleon who doesn't fake it, but rather tunes in. And here's what no one tells you. Being charismatic all the time is a mistake. The master of charisma isn't the one who shines everywhere, but the one who knows when and how to shine according to the energy of the room, the profile of the people, the objective of the interaction. This is the charisma switch, the ability to modulate your presence like a conductor, tuning each instrument to the right music. Think of a job interview. You can be pleasant, smiling, and friendly, but if you don't convey confidence when discussing your skills, your lightness becomes fragility. Now, imagine the same behavior at a funeral. An empathetic smile can seem insensitive. At a dinner with friends, if you're overly firm and technical, you'll seem arrogant or out of place. The same posture in different contexts conveys opposite messages, and that's why the truly charismatic person is a reader of social codes. They don't just master their own energy. They understand the other person's, and then they connect. Vanessa Van Edwards summarizes this with a simple but extremely effective exercise, the friend and expert test. After any social interaction, ask yourself, did I make this person feel welcomed like a friend would? And did I communicate value and competence like an expert would? If the answer is yes to both, you've activated your charismatic presence. If the answer is no to one of the two, you've developed partial charisma. And if the answer is no to both, you've been socially invisible, no matter how noble, intelligent, or well-intentioned you may have been. This test is the map of social calibration, and it goes far beyond professional situations. It applies to meetings, casual conversations, social media presentations, client lunches, and family dinners. The ability to balance warmth and competence within your identity is what differentiates the authentic charismatic from the artificial. Because the goal isn't to appear like someone else, it's to express different versions of yourself without losing your core coherence. And this is where the art of strategic adaptation emerges. The charisma switch isn't a mask, it's an extension of consciousness. It begins with a question: what does this situation require of me? In environments of tension or conflict, more warmth will likely be needed to disarm resistance. In technical, formal, results-oriented environments, more competence will be the necessary signal to assert authority. But in all cases, the other pillar cannot be reset. It's the dose, not the presence, that changes. Watch great communicators. They don't use the same tone all the time. They don't speak the same way to a CEO as they do to an audience of students. They modulate, they adjust, they read, they connect. Obama, for example, in his more institutional speeches, raised his voice, paused for impact, and kept his shoulders firm. But when in conversation, he relaxed his arms, smiled more, and used softer expressions. The content was consistent, but the format changed. Because charisma isn't a fixed identity. It's a performance adjusted to reality. The interesting contradiction lies here. The more authentic you are, the more freedom you have to adapt. The fake charismatic person is predictable, rehearsed, rigid. The real one is flexible, lively, and responsive. Because they know their base, master their nonverbal language, and know how to apply intensity in each context. They don't change their personality, they change their presence. This principle connects with an ancient idea articulated by Confucius. Wisdom lies in knowing what to do, virtue in knowing when to do it. The charisma switch is exactly that, a virtue applied to communication. Because knowing how to smile is useful, but knowing when to smile is strategic. Having a good story is great, but knowing which story to tell and how to tell it is what sets you apart. Charisma isn't about isolated content. It's about calibrated delivery, and perfect delivery starts with reading. Before entering a meeting, observe the environment. Are bodies tense or relaxed? Are people smiling or stiff? Are they silent or interrupting each other frequently? This gives you clear clues about the emotional climate, and this reading should precede any behavior you make. Act like a strategist, not an impulsive speaker. Because the social world doesn't reward the most talkative, it rewards the most in tune. And if you're not sure exactly what energy prevails in the room, follow Vanessa Van Edwards' golden rule. Start with warmth. Heat opens doors, heat dissolves resistance. Heat creates permission for your competence to be received. Think of heat as the key and competence as the content. If you try to deliver content without first opening the door, it will be rejected, or worse, it will be ignored. This even applies to flirting. Many people believe the best way to attract is by demonstrating direct value, assets, intelligence, performance. But they forget that without an emotional connection, all of this seems like arrogance. A smart seducer doesn't start by impressing. They start by listening, observing, tuning in. He creates emotional attraction. Competence sustains rational attraction. Without heat, you might even seduce, but you'll be forgotten. With both, you enter the other person's emotional imagination, and there you remain. Building the switch also requires self-knowledge. You need to know where you naturally shine most. Some people have excessive heat and need more structure training. Others are naturally competent but cold. Others fluctuate depending on the day or the environment. There is no ideal type. Yes, there is an ideal state, one where your most effective version matches your most authentic self. And here's a practical strategy for adjusting this state in real time. Conscious emotional mirroring. During any conversation, observe the other person's energy, tone of voice, gestures, rhythm, and mirror it subtly. If the person speaks calmly, slow down. If they use a lot of facial expressions, intensify yours a little. This creates rapport, the unconscious feeling of connection. And when the other person feels connected, they automatically listen to you more openly. And where there is listening, there is influence. But be careful. Mirroring is not imitating, it's harmonizing. It's like dancing. A good dancer doesn't impose the rhythm. They listen to the other person's inner music and suggest movements that fit. Charisma is this silent dance between who you are, what the other person needs, and what the situation demands. This dance also requires something few are willing to cultivate. Pause. Yes, pause. The effective, charismatic person is in no rush to speak. They don't rush. They don't compete for words. They pause because they know that silence, when well placed, is more powerful than 1,000 arguments. The pause is what gives weight to the next word. It's the space where attention condenses. It's the point of tension before impact. Charismatic people have timing. They know when to be silent. They know when to smile. They know when to assert and when to listen. And this wisdom isn't innate. It's an observation. It's practice. It's presence. The charisma switch at its core is the art of listening before acting, of reading before writing, of feeling before impacting. It demands sensitivity, but paradoxically, that's what makes you strong. In the end, charisma isn't about dominating every space. It's about making each space accept you as indispensable. And to do that, you need to learn to enter as one who offers, not as one who demands. Charismatic presence is generous. She doesn't demand attention. She offers connections. And that transforms any room, literally. If you struggle with having one-night stands or making an impression on the first date, then pay attention. We created 9 pre-date hacks, your pre-date guide to getting laid, our 10-minute game changer to end disappointment. This ebook kills your pre-date panic with 10 proven hacks. Flip that shaky mindset into king-level confidence, magnetize her attention, and walk in ready all in under 10 minutes. Say goodbye to feeling disappointment and hello to rejection-proof swagger, crafted for guys who demand results. Inside, you will find practical steps and exercises, such as a 1-minute mindset reset to ditch doubt, a 2-minute style blitz to look unstoppable, flirty openers to break the ice, and bonus moves to seal the deal. No more scrambling, download it to your phone for instant access. Perfect for beating those awkward silences or refreshing your Casanova flair anytime. As a bonus, the ebook includes audio files discussing topics such as number one thing men should do on a first date, according to psychology. No BS dating advice for men. Most men blow the first date. Ready to rise and seduce women? Grab it now, link in the description. Download, level up, and transform your game. If you want to support the channel, smash that like button. See you in the next video.